What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets and Rob with another video right here on the channel. We're going to be talking about the top 5 managerial candidates for our New York Mets. But before that, guys, don't forget to please hit on that like button and subscribe to the channel for all the videos, live streams, and all New York Mets content throughout the 2023-2024 offseason for our New York Mets. David Stern has a lot of work to do as the new president of baseball operations. Billy Epler resigns. Buck Showalter gets fired. Staff from the farm system, scouting directors, developmental staff on the farm system, all gone. David Stearns has a lot of work to do, and that's not even to mention filling a roster for the 2023 season, rotation, bullpen, maybe some more bats in the lineup. That's all the work David Stern has to do within a short time frame of the offseason. But first, his number one priority is to get a manager going into 2024. The top 5 candidates that I believe that is going to be the top 5 for David Stearns is going to go in order like this. And we're also going to have honorable mentions that might get an interview and might possibly surprise David Stearns in an interview. So here we go, guys. Number 1 is the obvious choice, Craig Counsell, who is the Brewers manager, the current Brewers manager, who just got knocked out of the wild card series in 2 games at home. Now, his contract is up. There was questions asked to him about managing and following David Stearns. Didn't really give much of an answer, except that he's going to roll it over and talk about it with his family. So Craig Counsell is obviously the number 1 choice, who is 100% connected to David Stearns. Number 2 on the list is Joe Espada. We've heard about him for many years associated with the New York Mets. He's been interviewed from the Wilpon regime and the Steve Cohen regime while the manager position was open for the New York Mets. So Espada, who is the bench coach under Dusty Baker for the Houston Astros, he has been a top candidate for a while now, not just for the Mets, but for other teams, and interviewed for managerial jobs around the league over the last couple of years, but is still the bench coach at this current moment. Is Joe Espada the right guy for the job? Houston Astros bench coach currently. Number 3 on the list is Carlos Beltran, who was the Mets manager for all about 5 minutes for the New York Mets until the scandal came out, and he was the only one basically reprimanded the most for the cheating scandal of the Houston Astros. Carlos Beltran, it looked like it was a popular choice when it happened, but because of the scandal, the Mets thought it would have been the right idea, and the Wilpons and Brody thought it would be the right idea to let Carlos Beltran go about his business and not be the center of attention about the scandal as the New York Mets manager, and that's when Luis Rojas came in. So right now, Carlos Beltran was the Mets special assistant to Billy Epler. Obviously, he's the special assistant to nobody. I'm guessing David Stearns at the moment, not Billy Epler, because Billy Epler is no longer a part of the organization of the New York Mets. Number 4 on the list is Pat Murphy. Who is Pat Murphy? Well, Pat Murphy is the bench coach to Craig Counsell of the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, funny thing here, and the reason why Pat Murphy, I think, is top 5 candidate for the Mets managerial job is because he is a fiery type of guy. He was a fiery guy in the minor league system when he coached and managed, and he's been thrown out more times as a bench coach than Craig Counsell was as a manager. And that's something that you heard a lot of people talk about that throughout the season with Buck Showalter, that it never felt like he stood up for his players and went out there, even if he was wrong, to fight for his players. And I tell you right now, Pat Murphy is a fiery guy, and he will get out of that dugout every single time when it's to defend his players. So I think Met fans would actually really like Pat Murphy, even though they don't know much about him, but he's been thrown out of more games than the manager Craig Counsell as Craig Counsell's bench coach. So Pat Murphy, the current bench coach of the Milwaukee Brewers. Number 5, Clayton McCullough. Now, people will be like, why would he be in top 5? Because he is an up-and-comer. Yes, he's not, 25, 30 years old, a guy that never really made it in the majors, but is a very good coach throughout the systems of teams. A lot of teams, he's been interviewed before. A lot of teams like him. They think he's an up-and-coming type of manager. Analytical guy that works well with front office and executives and GMs and president of baseball ops. And he just works well. And David Stearns talks about being a partnership with the manager. I think Clayton McCullough will be the perfect guy for David Stearns because he works well with everybody. He's a player's guy. He is somewhat of a fiery guy. He's a guy that loves to use analytics. That was mentioned a few times in his interview processes, that he is the type of guy that just fits well. He's very good with the players, works well with the front office. It's a win-win situation if David Stearns would go that route. And currently, he is the first base coach of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are about to face the Arizona Diamondbacks in a divisional round. So that is my top 5 for the Mets managerial candidates that I think David Stearns should be his top 5 going into the interview process at some point. Now, is he going to go after? Is David Stearns going to start searching for a manager right away, or is he actually going to hire a GM first before he makes that decision? My opinion, he's probably going to make that managerial decision first, because whatever GM he does bring in under him is going to have the same philosophy of how to build a team and how to work with a team and how they want to put a team together. So I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue, whoever he brings under him as the general manager. So my top 5 is Craig Counsell, Joe Espada, Carlos Beltran, Pat Murphy, and Clayton McCullough. A couple of honorable mentions, and one I'm going to bring up right away is Bob Melvin. He recently is coming back as Padres manager, so you can cross him off the list. But there's other guys there. Gabe Kapler, who was just fired by the San Francisco Giants. Denny Lemon, Ryan Flaherty, Joe McEwen, Eric Chavez, obviously the Mets bench coach, formerly the Mets hitting coach in 2022. And the quote from David Stearns from his press conference the other day, he says he's going to have a very wide net of managerial candidates. So this can actually be a long process to see who's going to be the manager in 2024 and going forward. This is a guy that needs to be comfortable and a guy that needs to understand that a partnership with the front office is important nowadays in baseball. That's what David Stearns says he wants. That's what he's going to get. So if Joe Espada wants full reign, it's not going to happen. If Carlos Beltran wants full reign, it's not going to happen. The reason why I think Pat Murphy and Craig Counsell are the two favorites. Now, maybe Pat Murphy will go with Craig Counsell to the Mets if Craig Counsell is the manager and Pat Murphy will be the bench coach. They have been, quote-unquote, successful with the Brewers making the playoffs a couple of years here, but they also flared out rather quickly in the playoffs numerous times. They just got swept at home in the wild card series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. They've lost before with the wild card with Craig Counsell. They lost in the championship series to the Braves. They lost in the divisional round as well. So they never really got to the World Series. They never really had very long runs except once in Craig Counsell's tenure as Brewers manager. So before everybody gets excited, now I don't know if people are excited about Craig Counsell or just think it's the obvious choice because of the relationship he has with David Stearns. And don't forget, guys, David Stearns, when he became the GM of the Milwaukee Brewers, Craig Counsell was already in place as manager. So he likes Counsell so much that he kept him around when he had every right to get rid of him and bring in his own guy. So him keeping Craig Counsell probably is going to make him the favorite to get the managerial job for the New York Mets if he actually wants a job. We don't know if he wants to, because there's been talks, a lot of reports that the owner has been trying to re-sign Craig Counsell, and Counsell has not signed a deal yet or even thought about it much to go back to the Brewers, even though that's where he's from. So what do you guys think? Do you think Craig Counsell is probably going to be the guy? Do you think one of the guys on my top 5 list or one of the guys in the honorable mentions? And I know some people are going to bring up Wally Backman, no. It's that nostalgia, 86 Mets, badass, no. There's a reason why the Mets didn't want him within the organization. Even with the Wilpons, as dumb as they weren't even stupid enough to keep Wally around with all the issues that he was causing off the field, as well as a lot of people who didn't like him within the organization. On the field, off the field, in the front office, it was just a bad go. That's why he's was with the Long Island Ducks. All right. And the other guy, people are going to be talking about Don Mattingly. Absolutely not. He is a terrible manager. We've seen so many years where he made terrible decisions in the playoffs with the Dodgers. There is no mistake, even though I don't like Dave Roberts very much. But once Dave Roberts took over, he took him further than Don Mattingly ever did. They couldn't get out of the first round with Don Mattingly, the Dodgers, with that roster. And then Dave Roberts took over. He's not very good in the playoffs either, but he's better than Don Mattingly. So Don Mattingly is an absolute no for me. Let him go to the Yankees. So with that said, guys, let me know in the comments, guys, who you believe is the favorite to be the manager of the New York Mets in 2024 and going forward. With that said, guys, thank you for watching. Hit that like button. Hit on that subscribe button, guys. We got a lot of content through the entire Mets offseason right here on the channel. With that said, guys, everybody have a great day. As always, Met fans, let's go Mets.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets.